ain't scared to go for broke.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. If you're new here, my name is Cole. I'm a freelance cinematographer and colorist based in Atlanta, Georgia. Today we have an important topic, which is going to be talking about gear that is buy once and cry once. If you don't know what I mean by this, I mean gear that is very expensive but very vital for your video production business. This gear could cost anywhere from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars or even tens of thousands of dollars. Hence the name Cry Once, because you're going to be crying once you see the thousands of dollars leave your bank account. The buy once meaning signifies that you will make this purchase one time and likely use this equipment for years to come or even for the rest of your career. Today, there are so many different affordable options of gear for us filmmakers to buy that will most likely get the job done. The issue occurs when we buy a more affordable option of gear, and then within a year or two, we're having to replace it with the more expensive option that we should have bought in the first place. I've made a list of gear that I have bought over the years that was definitely a buy once, cry once purchase. But it has stood the test of time so far. I bought so many budget alternatives to these pieces of gear in this list that I'm going to go over that I've had break on me and I've had to replace it or sell it or whatever, and it just didn't get the job done to my liking. Let's go ahead and kick this list off with the first piece of gear on our list, which is the Sony FX3. This is one of the first buy once, cry once purchases I made several years ago, but it has stood the test of time and made me lots of money. This camera is not new by any means and has grown a giant popularity on the internet. Honestly, there's really nothing super special about this camera. It just works very well and does the job. This camera is over 4 years old now and still costs $4,000, which is crazy. Several years ago, there were many different cameras to choose from, such as Canon, Blackmagic, Lumix, and more, that I could have gone with that would have been cheaper, but I ended up going with the FX3. Luckily, I worked at a video production place on a team where we got to use lots of cameras, and I got to see the weaknesses of those cameras. At the time when I was working at this video production place, we were using some hybrid photography, videography cameras. I was working and had some major issues with these cameras. The first issue was overheating, which was the main problem, as these cameras we would use were hybrid and they were not really specialized for video. We would film in hot environments in Georgia, and then these cameras would overheat within 30 minutes. The next issue was the autofocus was very inconsistent, and I knew I needed a camera that had good autofocus. The next big issue with these cameras was they had a record time limit, which was absolutely hilarious. Another issue that isn't as looked at is readout speed of the sensor, and these cameras had some of the worst readout speed, being like 30 milliseconds, which is really bad. So rolling shutter artifacts were super common when filming action, which is what we filmed. And after seeing the glaring cons of these cameras, I knew this brand, and specifically hybrid cameras, I wanted to stay away from. Doing lots of research, I ended up on the FX3, and it didn't really suffer from any of these issues. That's when I made the purchase of getting the FX3 several years ago, and at the time, it seemed like a big cry once moment. Once I made the purchase, it ended up making me lots of money over the years to come, so fine. The next buy once, cry once item on our list for my video production business was the M3 Max MacBook Pro. I bought this laptop a couple of years ago, and this thing was priced at $4,000. To a lot of people, this may seem crazy, but for me, I've used many different computers over the years and knew how much this computer would benefit my business. Apple software and computers are pretty much the industry standard when it comes to film and also video production. The main reason for this is because many editing softwares and other softwares are built to run on Apple OS and just run better overall on Mac. Another really useful thing about Apple is just the ecosystem and the ease of use for doing things like AirDrop from your iPhone to your computer and all those kind of tasks like that. The reason I knew I needed to cry once on this purchase is because I've used lots of other computers for editing and color grading in the past, and they've always had some sort of shortcomings. And I used to work primarily on a gaming PC to edit my videos. And gaming PCs are very powerful for video editing in some cases, but they also have a lot of shortcomings. The main one being they have no way of decoding H.264 or 265. And they just completely cannot play them basically, or really struggle to play them. And that's one of the main codecs that most, if not all, mirrorless cameras use in some way. MacBooks will play them super easily and have a built-in decoder, so it has no issue playing these type of files. Moving on to the next item on our list, this is going to be the SmallHD Indy 7 monitor. And this was a cry once purchase I recently made a few years ago when I was upgrading to a Red cinema camera. I knew I needed a very reliable camera monitor and wasn't sure with which one to go with, but after talking to several DPs in my area, they all recommended that I use one of the SmallHD monitors. These monitors are pretty much the industry standard for on-camera monitors on high-end cinema cameras. This monitor purchase was definitely a cry multiple times moment for me, because in the past I've bought the cheaper monitors. They've all had little hiccups and issues that would get on my nerves. One of the main ones, which is the Atomos Ninja monitor, that was the one I would use with my FX3. These monitors are pretty good. They just don't have the professional features that I'm really looking for. On the Ninja monitor that I had, one of the main issues that drove me crazy was it did not have any SDI ports for SDI cables. And if you don't know, SDI cables are the industry standard cable in the film industry, and they're used on basically every cinema camera. This Atomos monitor only had an HDMI connection. Another major thing about it that annoyed me was it did not have LUTs built into the monitor. They required you to buy this proprietary hard drive to install onto the monitor, and it was just frustrating. The other shortcoming was it just lacked professional features like EL zone or Arri false color that I like to use on the SmallHD monitors. The SmallHD monitor that I have is around $1,400, which is a ton of money for a camera monitor. But the thing is, it does everything that I need it to and does it well. While the Atomos monitor that I had was around $500, it was an okay monitor, but it really just lacked the features that I needed. The SmallHD monitor has been super nice, and it's never ever heated on me yet, and has tons of amazing features like the EL zone I mentioned, Arri false color, and it just has good connection ports. I really like the SDI out feature on it, and it allows you to do an SDI out of the back of it to a client monitor. Okay, moving on to the next buy once item. This is going to be the Aputure 600X that I'm actually using right now. I've used many different lights in the past, different key lights. There were cheaper options, but it was always difficult for me to spend the money on a light. Earlier in my career, I never really thought that lights mattered, and I was always more concerned with the camera. But as I've gotten better, I've realized how much more important lighting is than the camera. So I've invested more in some better lighting equipment over the years. I've used many of the cheaper lights over the years, like I said, but I really just wanted something that had good build quality, good durability, and was easy to use. Some of the biggest issues I've had in the past with other cheap lights is they just didn't have that good build quality. Like I mentioned, they're made out of plastic, and they were really just not easy to set up. And then worst of all, they just didn't look professional in front of your client. I wanted something that checked all those boxes for me, and recently that was the Aputure 600X. It is a 600 watt light, so very bright, lots of output for any video production job. It's also bicolor, which means you can change the white balance depending on the room. Many other lights also offer this, but I went with the 600X mainly just because of the build quality and the Aputure ecosystem. The 600X is built with carbon fiber and feels really tough, especially if you drop it or bump into it or something on set. It also has lots of fans inside of it, so it's not going to overheat, and it's very weather resistant, as I have found, because I've seen many of these lights sit out in the rain and still be completely fine. I love the Aputure lighting clamp as well, and it will just clamp onto your light stand, and then you can just easily mount the big heavy ballast onto the stand. It's a small detail, but it's little things like that that make me want to invest the money. I've used the cheaper lights in the past where the power ballast doesn't have anything to hold it up, and it kind of just hangs there or sits on the floor, and it just really looks silly, to be honest. It just swings around when it's on the stand and stuff like that, and just looks overall not professional in front of your client. When your client is giving you lots and lots of money to make them a great video, the last thing you want to do is have super cheap gear that just makes you look unprofessional and makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. The Sidus Link app works super well as well, and you can pair it with your phone or an iPad, and you can use it with all your Aputure and Amaran lights, and it's just really easy to use. Next up on my buy once, cry once list is going to be the Arri Prime cinema lenses. This was actually a cry twice moment because I actually bought 2 of them and probably plan on buying a 3rd one as well. Over the years, I've used many different photography lenses and cheaper cinema lenses, and also some expensive ones too. The Arri Prime are considered budget lenses at around $2,000 for each one, which is not really budget compared to Arri Signature Primes or more expensive lenses. They actually are budget, I guess. So the main reason you want to go with cinema lenses over photography lenses is just because they have more of a natural, organic look and just have more character overall opposed to just being sharp. I could have easily gotten some cheaper cinema lenses that were under $1,000 that probably would have done the job, but I just feel like these lenses at that price range just don't have enough character to warrant getting them compared to photography lenses. Also, the main issue with cheaper cinema lenses is actually the build quality, as they are made with cheaper materials, and they really just don't compare to the more expensive cinema lenses. This is mainly why I went with the Arri Prime, because they are built just like more expensive cinema lenses and also have a very distinct and unique look that I really like. That is pretty much going to do it for this video. I'm sure there will be more videos like this once I cry again when I buy more products that I need in the future, and I'll be sure to make a video about that. Before I go though, I want to mention that if you're someone who is trying to level up your color grading or even cinematography, I just finished making a DaVinci Resolve course that I've been working on for the past 6 months. So if you're someone who's been wanting to make that switch over to DaVinci Resolve, this course is going to be a great option for you. I'm going to teach you DaVinci in the most efficient way possible, so you're not getting confused by nodes and the color page and Fusion. And by the end of this course, you should be able to take on any post-production project with no problem. That is going to be linked down in the description, and that is going to do it for this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.